Hey there, this is just a quick guide, just a refresher course of how to write an MLA before we actually get started on our writing assignment. So if you want another worksheet on this, not just the slideshow, I've linked a worksheet for MLA guide in the resources tab module, and that's on a link at the very bottom of this part 2 for week 2. So let's get at it. Signal phrases, that's the one thing that we always transfer over to make sure that we are introducing it. So it's used to introduce a quote. So anytime that you have a direct quote, it can't just be used as the beginning of a sentence. It has to be introduced. So this could say, the author argues that, comma, and then you have your quote. And these are just some other phrases that you can use. Asserts, believes, claims, comments, disputes, illustrates, reports. It goes on. The idea is to try to differentiate and mix it up so that you have more than just this is seen when the text states. So make sure you always introduce your quote. So when you write this, here's an example. You have the text argues that, comma, Dr. Amy Cuddy suggests, Pew Research Center reports that, the author states, or the author writes. If you notice here, before I have a quote, I have a comma there. So it's a signal phrase and emphasis on the phrase, because then it will help you show that you're going from an introduction into comma into your actual direct quote from the text. And then steps for MLA. So at the very top of the slideshow here, I hope I'm pointing in the right direction. It is showing, would it be here? I don't know. We'll find out. So signal phrase, which we just talked about, then your direct quote, author, and it's the last name of the author, and then a page number. There's no comma. MLA 8th edition has removed the need of having the author's last name, comma, page number. Now it's just author, page number. And then at the very end, you have a punctuation. So here's just a step. So you have a signal phrase to introduce the quote. You have a comma that separates the signal phrase from the quote. Quotation marks that prove that you are quoting somebody. If you don't have that, sometimes people will dock you for plagiarism. I've had professors that would take points off because I didn't cite properly. And because of that, they said that I was plagiarizing someone. Quotation marks shows that it's a quote. Parentheses, that's right before author and page number. Those little brackets there shows where the citation starts. Then you have the author's last name. That's all you need if it's one author. If you have multiple authors, we will go from there. But let's just focus on the two stories right now. Both have one author. And then page number. And just remember, there's no comma. And then, given it's a sentence, you have punctuation. And that goes to the very end of the sentence. If you're having a direct quote and it ends at a period, you move that period all the way to the very end of that whole sentence, because that's where it belongs. The exceptions are usually like an exclamation mark or a question mark, because that helps build tone and an emphasis on the sentence. And then the other thing is that you don't always have to use the author's last name. If you introduce the author in this signal phrase, you just need page number. If you don't mention the author's last name, then you have to mention their last name in the page. So an example, I have, this is seen when George is described as being too intelligent and needing, comma, a little mental handicap radio in his ear, end quote. And since I didn't mention the author before the quote, I have the last name there, and then the page number, and of course the punctuation. But I can change that and say, this is seen when Vonnegut describes George being too intelligent and needing, quote, a little mental handicap radio in his ear, end quote, and I just have a page number, because I talked about Vonnegut right there. And then as we're going into a transition sentence, we touched upon that on the choose right layout. Just thinking of idea that you're not giving a topic sentence yet, but you're hinting what you're going to suggest in the next paragraph. So I can say at the end of my sentence, not only is Batman a better hero because of his intelligence, but he's also superior because of his wealth. I'm not saying that he's better yet, but it's introducing our next paragraph. Same thing with the concept that casual clothes are better is further developed when you look at how much cheaper they are when compared to dress clothes. So I am introducing that having casual clothing is more economically viable than having to, wear formal attire all the time. And that will be introduced in my next paragraph. And then finally, even though apes are often more intelligent, one could argue that monkeys have their advantages. I don't even mention what advantages monkeys have over apes. I would say it's their tail that helps with balance, but I will introduce that later. And that's about it for MLA Guide. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me or meet me at the Google Meet.